Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And I was out with my producer last Sunday. Me and Joe went down to the Splits Bar and Grill where I do cocktails with Cooper. We went to watch a Phillies game, and it was great because they have dollar hot dogs. We were drinking 250 Yinglings, and then the bartender was cool enough to give us a shot of tequila. That was pretty good, right, Joe?
Coop, that was such a great time, man. We got to do that again soon. And we got a Phillies win out of it, too.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your plan for this weekend?
Tomorrow, I'm going to go into Philly to hang out with a friend of mine who I haven't seen in a while. Looking forward to that. And then Sunday, I'm going to play some disc golf.
All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little more about SuiteRecording?
Absolutely. So at SuiteRecording, we help brands and businesses to leverage the power of podcasting and YouTube to generate great quality content and to reach their audience in a fun and unique way. So we help with everything from planning your podcast or your YouTube channel to recording, of course, and then publication as well. So we also do mobile recording, virtual recording, and lots of other cool stuff. So if you're interested in learning more, you can contact us at hello@suiterecording.com or visit us on the web at suiterecording.com. That's SUITE. Take it away, Coop.
Thanks, Joe. We have a great show today. Our first guest, a guy I've been running into for a long time from Insperity. It's Victor Picks. How you doing, Victor?
Doing great, Coop. Thanks for having me.
And next, the gentleman who I love the name of his company, from Schooley. I love that name, Schooley Mitchell. It's Rob Sullivan. How you doing, Robin?
I'm good, Steve. Thanks for having me.
And finally, from Jason Rannali Headshots, it's Jason Rannali. What's up, Jason?
How you guys doing? Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So, Victor, tell us a little more about Insperity.
Well, Insperity is a national HR and payroll administration company. We handle everything that involves employees. I like to say we can just cut checks for you, or we can take people from hire to retire or fire, whichever one comes first.
All right. And how about you, Rob? Tell us a little more about Schooley Mitchell.
So Schooley Mitchell, we're basically cost reduction consultants. So we go into companies, we look at 15 indirect costs, leverage the fact we have 28,000 clients, and we're able to negotiate rates better than the companies can do on their own. And then we just share in the savings.
How about you, Jason?
So I'm a commercial headshot photographer based out of Philly, and headshots are always kind of they have been this dry kind of just portrait for business, but I kind of wanted to sex it up, for lack of a better term. So I really coach people on the facial expressions and the body language to kind of get them to a level where they really says something about them beyond just documenting how they look.
Okay, so everyone has a story, and Rob, I want to start with you. How did you end up at Schooley Mitchell? What was your path to Schooley Mitchell?
Okay, so I've been an operations guy for 30 years. So my corporate life is General Electric, Comcast, Fidelity. For the last 15 years, I've been a fractional COO. I go into companies, I take over their operations, process, procedures. About 6 years ago, I started bringing Schooley Mitchell into my clients. Kind of made my bill a little bit more palatable if I saved them $30,000 on telecom. And my last contract was with the Navy. I was running a manufacturing facility, building ventilation carts during the pandemic. And when that was done, Dennis Schooley made me an offer. And that's where I am. I could just help companies. So I really enjoy what I do.
Okay, and Victor, I know you're newer with Insperity, but what's your path to how you ended up at Insperity? Because I've known you from your other job, too.
Yes. So I started in sales, been doing sales for 20 years, and I've sold, everything, mortgages to insurance. Basically, my path to Insperity, I was in insurance before the pandemic. I was driving an hour to work. No one else. We were in individual offices. I really hated it. Decided to go and do something fun, went into sports, and I was actually chasing Insperity as a client. And I think at some point, Bob Kennedy got tired of me harassing him and told me, "Why don't you come on board?"
I remember when you were talking to them. I was at an event of mine where you talked about this. And Jason, how'd you end up in headshots? Because you have your own company. As I say, the creative. You're creative, but how did you end up with the headshot company?
So I used to work in IT. I used to manage a lot of IT for some of the Wall Street firms. I took up photography as a hobby, as a stress relief on weekends. And I just kind of, when I moved back down to Philly when I left New York City, I wanted to start my own business. I'm like, well, what the heck can I do? Well, I've got this kind of passion / hobby that I've been working on. how can we make some money with this? And headshots and kind of tying that to a business function purpose seemed like one of the more logical ways to go about doing it. So I mentored with somebody who was really good, and they brought me into headshot land, and I've been kind of working on it ever since.
Okay, so we're all out there, we're all working, and I've said this many times. I'm lazy. I'm not lazy. It's hard to motivate me. I mean, this morning, today I have a full event. I have this, then I have an interview for Cooper Talk, then I'm performing at an event tonight. So I'm motivated for the day. Okay, I know. Okay, I wake up, I'll go to the gym. But some days I'm like, screw it. I just want to screw around. What motivates you when it comes down to it, Jason? What gets you up in the morning and motivates you to get your day started?
Sometimes it's nothing. No, no, but I think I like to just accomplish things, and I like to see like check boxes and see those accomplishments. So even if headshots wasn't what I would be doing, I could do something else. As long as I'm kind of checking boxes and kind of keeping busy, I like that. That's my motivation.
Okay. How about you, Victor?
For me, it's number one. Recently had a baby, so he makes sure I'm always up and ready to go. But besides him, I just like Jason, I like to check off boxes. I don't want to look at, I want to sell this huge company way down the line in 6 months. How about I get a meeting today with one person? So just the small goals that I find gratifying.
Rob?
Starting a company 3 years ago and having 2 kids in college, that's kind of my motivation, is because I had to pay for it. Obviously my babies are a little older, but I enjoy helping companies and referral partners and, the whole mix of networking and everything from that standpoint.
So all of you guys are in positions where there's a bunch of you. Like everyone can save you money. Everyone can get you payroll. Everyone can take a headshot. So if I'm going to sit there and I'm going to come to you as a possible client, and you're giving me a sales pitch, and I don't mean like, hey, that, but if you're trying to get my business, we'll start with you, Rob. What do you tell me that will sit there and make me pick Schooley Mitchell besides the name?
I usually tell everybody my background because I've never been in a sales role before in my life. My undergrad's engineering, I worked as an engineer for Comcast, for Fidelity, for GE. So it's more on the lines of I bring that perspective. When I'm talking to, say, a manufacturing company, they know that I've been on the floor. I'm not just out for the sale. I'm out to do the right thing for the company.
How about you, Victor? Why should I come to Insperity?
So for me, it's about getting me as your advocate. I think service is it's the biggest thing that we offer. And individual service, I think, is really important. So it doesn't matter what walk of life, whatever I was selling, I don't think you can find a person who I sold something to who would say I either did it dishonestly or who wouldn't recommend me, because I make sure that service is paramount. It doesn't matter what I make or anything else. If I give you good service, you'll be happy, and that's all I really try to strive for.
How about you, Jason? Because I've run into a lot of photographers, and a lot of them have been on the show. But what makes you special? Why am I going to have Jason Rannali take my headshots? And I've seen your work; it's very good. But if I didn't know you, how would you sell me?
Yeah, I think Victor made an excellent point. I think it goes along the lines of what he said. It's this service-based thing. I found that when I came on the scene, a lot of photographers, they're very art-based, and they're great at creating aesthetics, but there was less focus on the faces of the people and the personalities, and less of a white glove approach than what I came to market with. And because I came from a customer service, I managed support teams in New York City when I did IT. I brought that to this business, so I'm probably less of an artist and more of a customer service guy, and that's why people have been coming to me.
So, Jason, we're going to stay with you.
Yeah, sure.
What keeps you focused? Everyone, in this day and age, we have so many distractions. I mean, how it is. I mean, Victor, you have a new child, so that distracts you. We have social media. We're on our phones. You sit there, what's the score of the game? And we just, whatever, we post something. We want to see if anyone liked it. And we all do that, even though we won't admit it. What keeps you focused? What's something that is a focus? Like for me, I love music, but I can't listen to keep focused. I just try to clear my brain and just focus. If I want to write something, just look at the page, and that I keep focused that way. But what makes you focused? What keeps you focused?
I'm the same way. So I can't listen to too good of music in the background because I'll get distracted. I'll enjoy it too much. I'm like a rabbit. I need to be like on a hamster wheel. I need to eliminate all distractions. The less that I pick up things like phones and stuff, like that's how I have to be. Things like exercise, a little bit of meditation, and just kind of thinking about my goals at the beginning of the day. That's a big help too. But yeah, I have as much trouble focusing as anybody. And there's those couple tools that help me, even things like white noise, help me focus and keep clarity on my goals and what I want to do.
How about you, Rob? How do you stay focused?
Usually, well, every Sunday I write down what I want to do for the week, and then each morning I write down what I want to accomplish for the day. Because if I didn't do that, I'd be outside right now. Do you know what I mean? I'd be walking around or something like that. I'm not focused, so I have to check the box kind of thing on all my line items, cross them out in red. You know, I'm very regimented from that standpoint.
Victor, how do we keep Victor Pitts focused?
Very similar to Rob. I have a notepad. I have daily things that I need to accomplish, and I just check them off when I get them done. Also, I'll pop in my earbuds, and I won't listen to anything just so it drowns out some of the outside noise because there's so much externally that's trying to grab our attention. So that's what I've been doing recently to really help me stay locked in.
Okay, so we're God, May's coming up. Man, it's crazy. This year's flying by. May's coming up, and you know, there's two different kinds of people. I mean, I don't make goals. I don't plan goals. I have the long-term goals, but I don't sit there and plan a forecast because I'm not in a business world where I live by quarter by quarter by quarter. But some people do create goals. I mean, you said you make lists, but some people make long-term goals. Now that we're almost halfway done the year, when you think about it, what were a few goals that you planned on, and did you hit them? And if you didn't, what are some goals for the rest of the year? Like, Victor, do you have goals you've set for the whole year, and now we're almost halfway there, and you may have not hit them, or are you still working on them, or do you have other goals too that you want to project for the rest of the year?
I'm still working on some goals, still figuring things out just because I'm so new in the position, still trying to encompass everything. But I do have some goals where, you know, I want to reach this person, contact this, and start building up my business structure. So I definitely have a few that I'm trying to obtain.
Elaborate on a few of them.
Well, I want to like hit a certain sales goal by the third quarter when I should be fully operational. I want to make sure that I'm in the upper tier of newer people who have started, and mainly just being able to say that I'm moving forward. You know, I don't want to be where I'm just being stagnant for too long. I have to see some type of progression as I'm continuing in the journey.
How about you, Rob? What are some goals that you've set and some goals that you still want to reach?
The goal I want to reach is to work a little bit less, but my goal is 4 clients into production each month. And if I get 5, the next month is still 4. If I get 3, the next month is 5. But like, if I have a really bad month and I don't get any, I don't make the next month 8, because then I'm just gonna, you know, you're just gonna swallow. But it's literally that simple. Just get 4 clients in production.
And have you been hitting your goals in this year so far?
This year, yes, absolutely.
Okay. How about you, Jason? What were some of your goals? Because, you know, with the photography, because people need headshots all the time, but you probably have to set some rigid goals to keep yourself flowing.
Yeah, so the way I do headshot photography, I've never been everybody's kind of headshot photographer, so I'm very niche within a niche within a niche. But the couple goals that I did set for this year that I have, for the most part, accomplished. One was to be far more present on LinkedIn and start to get some social media together and get some consistency with that. That goes back to some of the daily list things and that focus. The other part was doing some more face-to-face networking and building community, you know, that I've been, you know, lacking in the past years of running my business. And I've been doing that too. So those are 2 goals that I've met. And actually, I had the pleasure of meeting Victor at an event a while back, Philly Business Connect, which was nice. So, you know, these things help. And building community around what I'm doing, because I'm a solo entrepreneur, that's always been a big thing. That just helps everything kind of move along. It helps you keep motivated, helps you feel part of something bigger than yourself and your own business.
So we're all out there in the business world. You know, we meet each other, we network, and what's a word in the business world right now? And I usually get to this when I'm on LinkedIn, but I'll get to that later. What's a word in the business world that just pisses you off? Like rock star always pissed me off because I've interviewed rock stars, and you're not a rock star if you're, you know, if you're eating a buffet at a chamber of commerce. Okay, rock stars don't do that. And the other one that's irritating me lately is keynote speaker. And it's funny, my wife is a sexual assault victim, and she had public speaker on her thing. And I said, no, you're actually a keynote speaker. She's been on ABC 2020, True Hollywood Stories, BBC Radio, a bunch of shit. So I said, you can change the keynote speaker. But I see so many people that use the term keynote speaker, and they go there at an event, and there's 5 of them, and they go, oh, I'm glad to be the keynote speaker. Well, you're all putting your keynote speakers. So that's a word that's pissing me off right now because I think it's overused. Rob, what you're out and about, and don't hold back, is there a word that just pisses you off that you're like, could you just stop using it? Like if you know John Cruise hates the word ninja. He's like, I don't want to hear ninja ever when I was at a computer. But what's a word that just, a catchphrase or something that someone calls themselves that irritates you?
Jeez. I use rock star, so now I feel bad. I don't know. Be honest with you, caught me on that one.
Okay, well, if you think of it, come back, because I'm going to go to Victor. Any word that irritates you, Victor? Because you're out there. You've worked in a few different industries.
Well, a lot of this is more emailing, but when people are just circling back, just touching base, a lot of just cliche words that you see when someone just doesn't know what to do. I'm a big Toastmasters guy, so filler words for me. I'm like, we got to get rid of the filler words.
Okay. And how about you, Jason?
No offense if anyone has this in their LinkedIn profile, and I might still have some traces of it too, but the word coach is like keynote speaker. It's all over the place. Everybody's a coach for everything. How many coaches can there be across every vertical of industry? I'm a coach for this, I'm a coach for that. It's overused. I think I took it off most of my thing because my thing was I would coach people in headshots and stuff, and now everyone's using it for everything. So I'm like, I'm taking it off. It's too much, overused.
There's more coaches than there are actual people. It's amazing. Yeah. That's what it is. So business, let's talk about business. And we'll start with you, Jason. When it comes to business, what is your strength? You know, what do you look at when you look at yourself in the mirror and you go, this is my strength? Like someone told me the other day that I have credibility. And I think that's a strength when it comes to business for what I do. And credibility is very important because, you know, we run into people, as you said, who everyone has a title. But for you, what's a strength that you have that you're very proud of?
Yeah, I brought this from the support world when I used to manage IT support teams. And it's really just like an empathy for the other person on the other side. And, you need credibility and all those things too. But that empathy that I bring to the table and that understanding that other person's position, that's always been my strength. I'm a big, I'm not going to use the word coach, but I'm a big cheerleader of the person on the other side that I'm working with. I had to do this with people when I worked in IT because they didn't know how to use computers. They hated IT. They didn't want to be associated with it. So I had to help them through it, cheerlead them through this process so they could use stuff. I do the same thing in my studio. They don't want to be in front of a camera. Nobody does, or most people don't rather. So I kind of cheerlead them, but I can feel that empathy for them that they're not feeling how they look. And a lot of us don't. So yeah, that empathy has always been a big piece. It's been a cornerstone of how I've always run my business, regardless of what it is.
How about you, Victor? What's a strength that you're very proud of that you have?
I would say likability. I think a lot of times people don't attribute how much that plays a role. I'm the smartest. I have this degree. I know this. I know that. For me, I recognize that I'm likable to most people, and I listen. So I'm a good listener, and that probably helps with the likability. And I am thankful for that.
Listening is really important, and you're right. That's a great characteristic that anyone can have. Rob?
My business strength is I'm process driven. So that's kind of how I used to go into companies and, run the operation. You know what I mean? I would be able to point out, weaknesses, gaps, everything from that standpoint.
Okay, now I'm going to stay with you, Rob, on this because I'm going to ask you, and since you point out weaknesses, What is a weakness you have? Like when you look, you can tell a company that this is your weakness, but when you look at the end, when you take the inventory of who you are, what is a weakness that you personally have that you want to actually get better at, or and have tried to get better at?
It goes back to what motivates you and focus. So you mean I have to write everything down, otherwise I'm not there. Do you know what I mean? So if I don't write everything down, I'm the day's a mess. You know what I mean? I don't get nearly as much done. I don't feel accomplished, and you know, it's not a satisfying work day kind of thing.
How about you, Victor? What's your weakness?
I would say procrastination. Unfortunately, I'm a procrastinator at times, and I have an unrealistic view of time. I just think things take so much shorter than they actually do. So that really hurts with the procrastination. It's a double-edged sword for me. So it's a little tricky.
Jace.
Yeah, I'm with Rob. It is the focus. I work so hard at that, but I know that my mind is like a bunch of hamsters running around. And if I don't have some of those same lists that Rob and Victor make, I'm gonna run astray. And that's always been a challenge for me. I've always been it's always me versus me versus me, versus the outside world.
So we're all, we all age and we all look back, and, mentors are a big word, and there's people that have mentored you, and there's also people who are just very important in your life. I've had teachers who are important. I've had fellow comics who are important, just people I've just met that have been very important to me. Who is someone that you look back and really played a role in who you are today? It could be a parent, it could be a teacher, it could be someone who mentored you, but is there anyone that really just sticks out and you go, wow, this person made a difference? And we'll start with you, Victor. Is there someone that just you sit there and go, they've helped shape me who I am?
Yeah, so I'll give you two personally. My grandmother, I didn't go to daycare, so she was with me all the time as my parents were working, as I was growing up, and she really helped to formulate a lot of my beliefs and drive me to be a good person. So I really credit her for that. And secondly, it was a manager of mine, and it was just something that he said, and it really stuck with me, and it's something that I carried through. He said, and he was talking to everyone in our group. He's like, "Don't be a coward. Make the calls, make the sales calls." And I just thought that was powerful, and I just believe in not being a coward in anything that you do.
Okay. How about you, Jason? Who's someone who has played a big role in your life?
So when I did manage IT, I worked for this guy, and while he worked in the corporate world, he ran the place like a benevolent mob boss. He was so organized and so benevolently shrewd when organizing things and getting stuff done. And he had a way of tackling challenges in such an aggressive way, but not being mean to people or anything. And I learned a lot from that. And into taking a goal, breaking it down, and working with people in a way that, yeah, you got to get stuff done. We got to push the needle forward, but still being kind of nice about it. That was a good way to rub off on people, a good quality to have, to be able to mix those two things.
Hey, Rob, how about you? Who had a big role in you?
So I had a manager at GE and still talk to him today, and I haven't been there for 15 years. But he motivated me to go back and get my master's, to get certified in, all the GE fun stuff, and encouraged me to go after jobs that I didn't even think I had a shot at. And it was, I still talk to him today, and it's literally, what are you doing? Should you be doing that? What's your next step? You know what I mean? It's just somebody that I'm probably going to speak to as long as we're both around, kind of thing.
So, the pandemic was a few years ago. And after we came out of the pandemic, the whole business world changed. And I always say, I think it actually helped networking, because before there was only a few networking groups. And then all of a sudden everyone met on Zoom. Like I met you on Zoom, Rob, and Victor. I think I met you actually in person first. But it opened up everyone's surroundings, opened up our networking, and all of a sudden these underground networking events happen and these organic networking things. So it was accomplishing. And one of my accomplishments was during the pandemic, I started Coffee with Cooper, and now I have Cocktails with Cooper. To me, that was a very big accomplishment during the pandemic and since the pandemic. For you, Victor, what is, and it can be personal. Okay, I know you're a child. It can be personal. It can be professional. Since during the pandemic and after the pandemic, what do you feel has been your biggest accomplishment?
Biggest accomplishment is I would say just remaking or creating a better network. I used to do some networking before, but the pandemic really helped me to hone in. And networking is a skill, and just sharpening that craft. And I think that that time really helped me to become a little better, as opposed to just going places and handing out cards and not really focusing on making those connections that are so vital.
How about you, Rob? What's an accomplishment that you're happy about?
Well, I started this business during the pandemic, and I networked my tush off, and it was amazing finding out how small the world really is. You know what I mean? I've got connections all over the country that I talk to every 6 weeks, and it was really getting a network together, of referral partners and everything. And I got asked this question: what was the biggest accomplishment? And I think since I've started this, I've gotten 7 people jobs, and has nothing to do with my business. Has nothing. It's all about networking and my referral partners and everything from that standpoint.
How about you, Jason?
Yeah, for me, this one's purely a personal one. Man, we struggled a lot in my family personally during COVID with my son in particular, and he's not the kind of kid that wanted to do class behind a screen, so he weathered that particularly tough. Not very good, but to be able to kind of get him back on his feet after COVID, once he started becoming, he's a little bit of a shell of himself coming out of that. We, as a family, we kind of built him back up, and got him involved in activities. He became, he's thriving now. But getting a kid back on his feet when he's a little bit broken, or anyone for that matter, that was a big thing for us. So that was purely a personal one that only I can perhaps relate to, but it was a big one for me.
Okay. Now, Rob, you had said you got 7 people jobs, okay, and you refer people. What quality does a person have to have for you to refer them? Because we all know if you refer some schlub, it comes back and kicks us in the ass. People are like, oh, what the hell? Like, you refer someone and they don't call, and then they go, oh, well, what happened to that guy? Then you put the relationship you have with that person, it takes a little bit of that credibility I said about I have.
Right.
What are a few, like if I said to you, hey, Rob, I want you to refer me, and if you didn't, if you think I had those characteristics, you would say, okay, I can do that. But if you thought I was a schmuck, you'd probably say I can't do it. But what are some characteristics that someone, for you to refer someone to a trusted, not just to some nobody, but a trusted business partner, or networking partner, what are some characteristics?
It's a good question. So I only surround myself with people that are not schlubs, first off. So all my referral partners, obviously, Victor and I go to a bunch of different networking events together and stuff like that. I think all those people are truly out to help one another. And if you're not, you shouldn't be there. You know what I mean? Great if you get business along the way, but your one goal should be, how can I help the other individual? So I guess that's the characteristic that I'm looking for.
How about you, Jason?
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it that Rob just mentioned. I want to meet people that even if their service wasn't right for the person that I'm sending their way, that they're not looking to just make a buck. They're happy to refer it out to somebody else who might even be a better match. When you can be that selfless about it, I think that's a good argument to send to refer someone to someone. The other piece of it is communication, excellent communication. There's nothing worse than sending someone to someone and their communication is sparse, or they're just not getting the answers that they need. And that makes us look bad as the referrer.
Vic.
To refer someone, as opposed to just introducing them, I have to see them in action. I have to see how you service others. that's the biggest thing. Because Steve, as you know, in this area, a referral is golden. If somebody has a guy and refers you to that person, that means a lot. So I have to see you in action, have to see what type of service you provide to others before I can go ahead and refer.
Okay. So we're all at different points in our lives. We're at different ages, and everything changes. As we go through life, I like to talk about success. Success changes. I always say, when I was in LA and when I was doing comedy in my young 20s, I wanted to be a star, and now I've gotten to know stars, and a lot of them have a hard life. And then people also who aren't stars, who are working actors, you think they're a star, and they go through more rejection than any salesperson because they can be. I mean, it's a hard life. Now, success for me is I have a roof over my head, I have a nice wife, I have a good network around me, and I'm happy and I'm successful. And so, to you, first, what is success, and then what is happiness? Because they're not always the same. There's people who can be the most successful people in the world, and they're miserable. So, Rob, what is success to you? And then, on the other half of that, what is happiness to you?
So mine correspond, because success is the happiness of my family. Do you know what I mean? That's how I identify it. I mean, if they're happy, I'm happy, and my goal is to do everything possible to make that happen.
So now, why is your family happy? Why is that? Why are you successful?
It's a good question. So it's basically we work on our relationships. I mean, I say the best thing that ever happened to our family is we stay in a small cottage in Cape May where we're borderline on top of each other. So it's gotten to the point where there's no room for drama. There's no room for any BS or anything like that. And that's how my family's been for 20 years. So we basically put all things aside and just take care of each other.
How about you, Victor? What's success for you? And then what's happiness?
So very similar to Rob. So success for me is actually being able to be generous with my time. And normally it's going to be either with nonprofits that I support or with my family. And the happiness is going to boil down to the people around me, my family, being comfortable and being happy, because that generally is happiness to me.
Jason, what's success, and then what's happiness?
Yeah, so I think success is any part where you feel like you're fulfilling your goals, whatever they might be. For me personally, I had a divergence between success and happiness when I worked for some of the Wall Street firms. I was high on success, but not so high on happiness. I wanted to bring those together so that they were more in line, and I hope that I'm doing that now, where I have, professional success, but the happiness, the experiences of sharing experiences with people and sharing relationships, having great quality relationships, I want them to be more mixed together and have more time for that.
Okay, so as I said, we can talk about successes, and people are, if you go on social media, are very quick to tell you their successes. It's always like, "Hey, look at me, yeah," and no one's ever miserable. No one's. I always felt like when I was doing cocktails with Cooper, coffee with Cooper, I just wanted to have a backdrop of my Zoom of like empty pizza boxes, full ashtrays, and empty beer bottles, and people were like, "Holy shit, what is Cooper going through?" I thought he was happy. So we do get depressed sometimes, and we do have disappointment. But the thing is, a lot of times people don't talk about their disappointments in the business world, especially in like the last few years. We've all had disappointments, and you go through your disappointments in life. And I think when you tell someone about your disappointments, I think you get people understand, as you said, Jason, you have empathy. So, Jason, has there been a disappointment in the last 2 years that you want to share with us? Something you maybe lost a client or something like that just was a disappointment. And then how did you get out of being disappointed? Because I talked about this last week, we always get stuck in a funk. And you can tell, like me, my whole body language changes. Oh shit, I didn't get that, Jason, was there a disappointment? And then how did you get out of that funk and say, you know what, it's not a big deal?
Yeah, there was a couple coming out of COVID. There was a couple, I was shut down. There was people running the business, but you can't do photography in person through COVID. It just, that was a huge disappointment, where I was just stuck standstill for months on end, not showing when this whole thing was the end. So that was the disappointment. Fortunately, we all got to live and see another day. So how to get out of that disappointment? It was really to try to hit the ground running as hard as I could when I saw the curtain starting to lift and people started to want to do more things in person. And that was able to ease that disappointment. But it wasn't without hard work. That business didn't just come to me. I had to kind of put myself out there.
Rob, disappointment, and how do you deal with it?
I think I learned, because I started from absolutely nothing with this business. So I had to learn to identify what a real win was, whether it's a connection with a referral partner, obviously getting a client, but I had to determine what I considered a win and then kind of celebrate those wins. Do you know what I mean? Instead of, otherwise I would just be in a funk every day.
Okay. How about you, Victor? What's the disappointment, and how did you overcome it?
Normally, I'm not weighing too heavy on, as a salesperson, I hear no all the time. So I try not to place all my eggs in whether this one person says yes or no controls the way that I feel. But generally, it's just throwing myself into the next venture, networking, next sale, whatever I have to do to kind of push myself forward, so I'm not staying in that rut.
Then we're gonna get to networking, because we all have to network. It's the key now. People don't really call anymore. And networking, and we've seen it. As I said, Zoom had changed things, because that person who walked into a networking event that had no substance but had a really nice suit, now when you got into a breakout room, they had nothing to say. People said, this person's a fraud. And we use that, but there's a lot of frauds you run into. It's in anything, and so networking, you guys are all good networkers, and so I know you. And, I know you, Jason, through just such different people. I see you on LinkedIn with people mentioning you. As I said, Rob, I've met a few times. But he never comes to Coffee with Cooper anymore, so he must think I'm a schlub. He probably thinks I'm a schlub. It's okay, Rob. My wife calls me a schlub. And Victor, I see you all the time. But what makes you a good networker? Not like we said earlier, I listen. But when push comes to shove, why do I want you at my event? What makes you good, and what do you bring to the table? And Victor, I see you at events, but what makes you a good networker? And you said you were working on it earlier. And what do you bring to the table in the networking world?
Well, besides, like I said, besides the listening, I have just my past network. I have a pretty good contact list, and I'm willing to actually introduce people. So openness, friendliness, and the ability to listen to what you're saying and thinking about how I can help you, as opposed to me just wanting to sell you something.
How about you, Rob? What makes you, what do you bring to the table? Why should I invite you to Coffee with Cooper or Cocktails with Cooper when I'm a schlub? I want to know that. What brings you to the table?
So I have something Thursday mornings. Just want to put that out there. But I think it's exactly what Victor said. You have to go in with the attitude of, how can I help you? What can I do to help you? If I don't have a big network, what events am I going to that I could bring you as a guest or something like that? You know what I mean? That's the main focus, is what can I do to, make your business better or help you personally or anything from that standpoint.
How about you, Jason? What do you bring to the table?
Yeah, my one gift, for better or worse, is that I hate talking about myself. So I'm not the best natural salesman, but in networking events, it's great because I really get to learn in depth about other people's businesses. And while I don't have as vast of a network that some others might have going into some of these events, I'm always thinking about, okay, what is some meaningful way that I can contribute to this person, their success in their business? And sometimes it's really as simple as engaging and sharing content on like like a platform like LinkedIn. I've had people be like, I had crickets on this post, and thank you so much for, posting your thoughts around it or sharing it to your network of people and getting some other eyes on this outside of the 5 people that I know. So I try to look for, even if it's small, just meaningful gestures and ways that we can help people and their endeavors along.
Okay, with networking, as I said, we're out and about. It's funny how much people actually really network, and I think a lot of times when you go to some events, we don't have to. I've learned, I mean, I'll go to an event if there's a good spread. If I know there's going to be good food, I'm going. I don't give a shit. I'm like, yeah, I'm there. I don't care. I don't really drink at networking events except my cocktails with Cooper, because there's nothing worse than you see someone hammered at an event and they just blow all that work out. I've seen people. I had someone drop an anti-Semitic comment in front of me and my friend who's a mayor of Berlin Borough, and we were just like, dude, we will never do business with that person again because it's just wrong. But we've all had a bad networking experience, and for me, one was when I first moved back here from LA and I started networking. I was with Coit, and I knew some people. I was building my network. But someone was so damn dismissive. Like, they didn't even want to talk to me. And it was like, this person was like a nobody. I hate to use that term, but this person was like a nobody. And I was like, that sucks. I didn't like it. And that was a bad networking experience. And now I'm actually close with that person, but I never told them that you were a real prick to me the first time I met you. But give me a bad networking experience, because there has to be something, or a funny networking experience. Like, maybe you spilled a drink on someone. Because I always want to hear that, networking is more than just everyone saying you're a power networker, you're this, which power networker is the stupidest term because everyone's your power networker. I mean, everyone can be someone. But Jason, any stories that were just either funny or just you just pissed you off when you were networking? Like, you really had to put a bad taste in your mouth about networking, just an experience.
No, I'll put myself on the spot and flag myself. So I was like, when I first started networking, I was trying to get advice from people. Well, what do I do? Well, make sure you sell yourself and make sure you talk about yourself and your business stuff. And that was the worst advice ever. Be a better listener. So I remember talking someone's ear off about these not stupid headshots, but my business and my headshots. And like the person's getting glazed over. So, finally, I had to get some self-awareness and be like, hey, Jason, be a better listener. Don't talk about yourself so much. Really take an interest in understanding what other people are doing. So yeah, I'll flag myself on that one.
Okay. How about you, Rob? I know. You're out. You go to some cool. I mean, you're in the Irish Chamber of Commerce. There's got to be some crazy shit going on in that place. I mean, I hung out with this guy named Joe Mackerlane down the Jersey Shore, and his mom used to say, you guys will drink till the cows come home. And I was like, yeah, and when they do, we'll make White Russians. I mean, we were just, it was just a crazy thing. But give me something because I know you've seen some shit.
Maybe, yeah. The one that really comes to mind is I went to a networking event with an individual who probably, I think he was exhausted, or probably had like one too many, and like slurred for like 2 hours and wondered why he didn't get, nobody called him back. You know what I mean? He reached out to everybody, and I'm like, you were hammered. And he's like, I wasn't hammered. I'm like, you were slurring all, like you couldn't finish a complete sentence. And we were rolling, I mean, it was a train wreck, but it was a train wreck that was really fun to watch because he was kind of arrogant about it as well. So, but that's the one that sticks out. The Irish Chamber, you're welcome to come anytime you want. All
right. I'll check it out sometimes. I found out from, I think I'm like 4% Irish. I did that ancestry. I'm like everything. I'm part I'm part Finnish. I'm part Russian. I'm part German. I'm everything. I'm like a mutt. I'm a European mutt. Victor, something that happened to you.
So of course, seeing people get a little too intoxicated at events, but one thing that I've been running to, one particular person, just they come in and Jason, like you said, I think they got the advice to only talk about themselves. And I'm sure you guys have all run into this person. Very smarmy. They come in, and every conversation they come into, they want to dominate it and talk about what they do. And every time I see this person, we never have anything deeper as a conversation. So I would never recommend this person, but you can't only focus on yourself and give the same pitch every time. That's not networking. That drives me crazy.
You just use the word schwarmy, and I love that word. And this is just off the cuff. If you can think of one, just give me one word that you think we should use more. And I think schwarmy is one of them. Is there one word you think we should use more, Rob? Like, in everyday terms?
You told me I wasn't allowed to curse, right?
You can curse, yeah.
No, I douchebag. I mean,
okay.
I think that's perfect to describe some people.
Okay, yes, that's great. That is a great one, yeah. And I don't like when people say DB. No, because it might be so DB Cooper. I'm like, oh, everyone's calling me a douchebag. When I'm not, they're like, no, we're talking about the pilot, DB Cooper. I'm like, no, you're calling me a douchebag. You use Swarmy, so we're going to skip in this one, Victor, because you already you got an A+ on that one. How about you, Jason? A word that you think that we should bring back?
Schmuck is always a classic.
Schmuck.
Schmuck is always a classic. Yeah,
Yeah, you
absolutely.
schmuck's gone out of style. People don't use that term anymore.
Yeah,
It's
bring
funny.
it back.
Exactly. Bring back schmuck. Bring back swarmy. I want to meet someone who's a schmarmy douchebag schmuck. That's my goal. My next networking. So when next week at Cocktails with Cooper, I'm going to find someone like that. And I'm going to be so happy, and I'll message all you guys. So we're all active on LinkedIn. And I know, Rob, I see you on LinkedIn. You are one of the most supportive people, but I see you like a lot of things, but you're not an over-liker. There's some people just over-like, and all of a sudden it becomes insincere. But when I see you like, I know it's a good thing. And Victor, I see you, and then Jason, of course, you're very active because you are a visual company, so you have to put out your pictures, But I always say something that bothers me in LinkedIn, and what I think cheapens LinkedIn is the narcissism. We don't use the word narcissist, and anyone, there are narcissists out there. We're all, I'm an entertainer, so I'm part narcissistic and I'm part insecure, but I try to help people, and the narcissism bothers me when I see posts when people just tell me how great they are, and I look at it and I go, well, you can't say yourself great. It's like giving yourself a nickname. You can't sit there like, Rob, I mean, we can call you Sully, but if all of a sudden, Rob, you walked in and said, hey, call me the Commander, we'd be like, we're not going to call you the Commander, which I'm going to start calling you the Commander. But it's a thing. It's like people just blow their own, as my mom would say, toot their own horn. What is something that bothers you about LinkedIn? It's something that, because it's such a valuable commodity, but there's a lot of bullshit that goes on, a lot of faking that make it, the narcissism. But Victor, what's something that bothers you about LinkedIn?
I would say some of the I guess it's oversharing. Like, I don't need, this is LinkedIn, it's not Instagram, it's not Facebook. We don't need pictures of you on the beach or in a bathing suit or in a gym. That's not really what I'm here for. So that really bothers. Stick to why we came, just to get the business.
Damn, I better pull that picture of me in a Speedo. Thanks for giving me the heads up. Jason, what's something that bothers you about LinkedIn? Because it's very valuable to you, because we need to see your work, and it is your calling card.
Yeah, but I try to, there's a narcissism there, and I try not to make it about me. I try to make it about the people that I'm, helping out. I don't want it ever to be about me. I have to make it about me a little bit because I have to put that content there, but man, I don't like it. I'd rather have it not be about me, but there is an element of narcissism there that drives me nuts, where everything is about the person that is posting, not just even once a week, but every day. They're doing the best thing and they're doing the most important thing in the world. You're more important than the president at this point. So, it gets to be a bit crazy with the narcissism. But yeah, if there's any advice I can give somebody, even if you do have to post content because of what you do, try to make it about the other people as well. It really is about them and your clients.
Yeah, I know. I love when I see like people saying how great they are. They post it like 8-10 times a day. I'm like, when do you work? Like, how do you get shit done? You're posting and that's great. I posted on events. I tried to lift people up. My wife just spoke at our college. I put that on just to support her because, but it's funny though. I'm like, some people notice that. I don't think, no, Rob, like what bothers you? Because as I said, you're very good at supporting people, and you do more than just the like. You might do the clap or the other. There's so many damn logos now. But what is something that bothers you about LinkedIn?
It's exactly what Victor and Jason said. First is personal. You know what I mean? That's great and all, but I just move on. And the next is individuals that post multiple times a day. Do you know what I mean? I think the reason it bothers me is because it's not impactful. If somebody posts once a week and it's impactful, that's the best way to do it. If somebody posts 5 times a day, you're just going to scroll through that. You're not even going to read it because it's probably very similar to what you read 2 hours ago or something like that. And then it becomes the point where you don't look at anything they do. But if somebody posts something impactful like every other week, I think, that's the way to do it.
Okay. Well, you mentioned reading. I don't read business books, but a lot of people do. And if you don't, you can just say, hey, when I ask you this question, you can say, hey, I don't read business books. And this is something that I said I've done for a while that came out of people always talking about books. And I love writing. I can't get interested in business books. I just, maybe I'm stubborn. I don't know. But what's, Rob, I know you've read books because you've been in the corporate world. What's a book that you've read either recently or in the past that really made an impact on you, that you remember reading that book and you go, I'm so glad, I mean, and none of you can say The Go-Giver because everyone always says that, and I've heard it's a great book, but everyone says, and I have to read it. I might actually read that because everyone says it's a great book. But what's a book, Rob, that you've read that that's made a difference for you?
So there's two reasons I love this book. So I begrudgingly went back to school because I was running businesses and I never took a business class. So when I got my business degree, I read all of the business books and everything like that. And I swore I was never going to read a book again. And I had to read this one book for a company I was consulting for. It's a great book. It's Measure What Matters. But the coolest thing about it, and this has probably nothing to really do with your question, if you can get it on Amazon as whatever, you can listen to it. And each of the chapters is narrated by the person the chapter is written about. So there's one guy from Google that reads his chapter. There's a whole section on Bono. He reads his chapter. And I just thought it was brilliant because it took that whole, what I hate about reading, it took that completely off the table and made me like the book that much better.
Why did it make an impact on you,
though? Because it wasn't me reading it. You know what I mean? It was me hearing the actual individual it was written about. And then Measure, I'm a big process guy. So Measure is 90% of what I do. And them explaining the measurement or how they measured or what they qualified as success was very impactful.
How about you, Victor? What's a book? Because you're in sales. You've had to read a bunch of them.
Yeah, you know what? And something I just went back and started to read again, fanatical prospecting, just because it keeps me engaged, focused, giving me some new perspective. Because you always have to try something new, find a new way, especially with the way that we're not just cold calling anymore. Everything is networking and email. So big on that book.
How about you, Jason?
So I'm not a huge business book guy, but here's one that really kind of helped me. It was called Speaking to Influence by Laurel. She's actually on LinkedIn. I found her on there. But she does a lot of public speaking, like coaching, I'll use that word again, for like executives to get their executive presence together. But where it helped me, someone who's a complete nobody in the business world, is slowing myself down so that I could speak better and more clearly. And this is tough for me to do. I have a speech impediment. I tend to trip over my words a lot. I'm Italian. I get very excited and start using my hands. But by reading that book, it just taught me to slow things down, be more mindful of how I speak, and just upped my game just a little bit. So that was a big help in my communications around business.
Just speak. I stammer. I interview people all the time. So it's just, it gives you endearment. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I never edit anything. I don't believe, like my other podcast where I interview celebrities, I never edit it. I was interviewing someone the other day. They kept saying, and I was like, oh, God, I wanted to say, dude, stop saying, because I'm not going to edit it. And it takes away from that thing. Anyway, for the final question of the day, someone comes up to you. They can be a high schooler, college, making a career change. They can sit there, it can be a person in trades, it can be a person in sales, it can be a teacher, it can be anyone who just wants from you some advice, maybe like as you might mentor them. And they sit there and they come up to you. Like I've told people, they've asked different things. And I say, when they say, how do I get into comedy? I said, don't do it. You're funny and you're not funny and you're an asshole. And they don't like that. But what's some advice? Like someone comes up to you and says, man, how do I make this work? I'm frustrated. How do I get somewhere in business and make a mark? Victor, what advice do you give someone that you hold close to your heart?
Persistence, number one, be persistent, leverage your time and your relationships. And lastly, be useful. Be useful to others. If you're not useful, you're useless. You do not want to be useless. be useful to others. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. How about you, Rob?
I like to figure out what people want to do and then, encourage them to actually do it. What is the term? Love what you do. You never go to work a day in your life. I don't necessarily believe that. But at the same time, you should, if somebody says they want to help people, well, how do you want to help people? You want to get into nonprofit, or do you want to get, be a doctor? And, just try to help them guide them from that standpoint so that they are doing what they want to do, but they need to know what that is.
How about you, Jason?
Yeah, the best advice I can give someone is, even if you want to do something, it's a passion and you love it, it still comes with the caveat of you still need to understand sales in a genuine way, like Victor does it. We're not just being smarmy salesmen, it's relationship building. So that has to be at the forefront of your mind. It's very tough to find entrepreneurial positions where you can just hide behind the scenes. You have to be good at sales. You have to understand at least a little bit of marketing, and you have to be willing to put yourself out there and understand that it's a very long game. None of this stuff happens overnight. None of it. Relationships take years to cultivate and nurture.
Okay, well, that was great, guys. Victor, how can people get in touch with you?
On LinkedIn. I have other social media, but I'm not a big social media user. I don't want to get distracted. So LinkedIn is the best way to reach out.
How about you, Rob?
Really the same thing. All my contact information is on LinkedIn, and you can actually just book an appointment with me.
And Jason?
Keep it simple. Yeah, you can always reach me on LinkedIn, and all my stuff is linked right from there.
So people, go check them out if you need their services. If you want to advertise on the Coop Talk, if you want to be a sponsor, hit me up, because, the Coop Tank is I get shakers and movers in the business world. The people who watch this are shakers and movers. So isn't that a way to get your product out there? Don't you want people who are out and about knowing about you? So you can reach me. You can email me at thecooptank@yahoo.com. Also, go to YouTube. Go to YouTube and watch past episodes of the Coop Tank. Follow it, subscribe it, like it, make some comments. May 4th and May 18th, if you're in South Jersey or Philly, at the Soundplex Studios right there on Ruttero Avenue in Pennsauken, I'll be hosting Speakeasy Comedy. This is a killer studio. It has everything in it: a cool upstairs, a cool downstairs, a networking area, a studio, a full recording studio. You can contact me at thecooptank@yahoo.com to get more information on those shows. Don't forget my other podcast, Cooper Talk. I recently did my 1,000th episode with Mick Mars in here. And today I'm interviewing the original bassist from Journey. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. So check that all out. Listen to all my shows. I want to thank Joe Gangemi, the best producer around. Go to SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com, or email them at hello@suiterecording.com. I'm Steve Cooper. Don't you forget it, and have a good weekend.